Good morning. This morning I want to just talk to you about relationships. I do so many soul readings and twin flame soul readings, and to me it's before we are actually born, we actually meet with our guides, and we sit with our guides and we look at all our past lives patterns that we ever created with other souls, especially the negative ones. And then we have looking at the issues that we still need to resolve. Now, with this lifetime, many of us souls are in their last incarnation on earth, apart from the whole, because before you incarnated at this time, you did know that the new earth would be born and the new golden age. Every soul has been informed about that, and many of us have returned to complete our soul mission and purpose on earth. Many of us have started this millions of years ago when we first were involved with planet earth as a soul. This could have been in many capacities. I won't go that. That's why I did my webinar last Saturday, where I went into the whole history of the earth that has been unrecorded, because at that stage they didn't use any tablets or papyri or whatever to record history on, because they didn't need it. They were seventh dimensional and fifth dimensional in the later Atlantis. But everything is recorded in energy fields. So what happens is you actually have got all these contracts with the souls, and you look at them and say, okay, will you please incarnate with me in this lifetime? So you all agree to that, and they come into your life at certain points in your life when you need to re-meet them again, so that you can work through all those negative patterns. The only way to dissolve those negative patterns is finally to go to the crux, that moment when that emotional charge happened. And then to forgive them and to forgive yourself. You can't get past the law of forgiveness, because as long as you hang on to the pain and guilt and shame and the suffering and whatever has caused that, it gives you a tool. It gives you a tool to reject them, to not want to love them in the deepest core of who and what they are. But in rejecting them, you are rejecting yourself. Relationships are there, and especially marriages, because they're human-made. At intergalactic and universal levels, you can never own a soul. It's impossible. A soul is free. It's sovereign. You can't own another soul. If you truly love them, you give them the freedom to be simply themselves. But unfortunately, human beings actually invented this. And then what happens? Now you meet the soul in this lifetime and you say, oh, you belong to me. Okay? But it might not have been a good belonging. It might have been that you were in a dowry agreement, especially women. And I'm talking to women now specifically, because women were like put on the market as if they were cattle and then possessed in that way for thousands of years since the fall of Atlantis. Now, you might never have loved a man or he you. It was just an agreement. And most often it was about titles, it was about land. It was simply about, sort of owning somebody because you want to own them. It was not about love. The thing is, now you meet the person again in this lifetime, a soul, and you say, ooh, I belong to you. But it was a false belonging. And many of the time we meet them, they say, ooh, I want you. It's a false one. And then, if that is what you need to work through with that soul, you will end up in a relationship with them. That's a law of attraction. But unfortunately, it becomes like an infatuation. We're infatuated because we know that they belong to us at some level. If those marriage contracts, if those vows, if those oaths you ever took in whatever form or way, let it be business, let it be marriage, let it be political, let it whatever, if they are not released from your sacral area, and from your throat, and wherever it is in your heart and in your soul, those patterns would just continue And they have continued lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes. The only way to dissolve them is to finally forgive yourself and forgive them, and let go of all shame and blame and guilt and hanging on to pain and suffering. The truth is that the minute that you actually start looking at the soul and looking at all that is pushing your buttons in whatever form or way this may be, go and own them inside yourself, because marriage is there not to make you happy, but to actually reflect everything back to you that you have not loved and owned within yourself. That partner is actually playing out the role perfectly to awaken you to the truth within yourself, so that you can gain mastery. And so will your children. Whatever you don't like in your partner, your children will reflect back to you. And then you say, oh, you're just like your father, or you're just like your mother. It's because you do not own those parts in your partner within yourself. This is all a huge movie, and you're playing out actor's role. Is it not that we fall in love, which is completely the wrong term, because if you love somebody truly, you do not fall in love. You are love. You are love in soul and heart and being. And then, it's all hunky-dory. And then after a few years, what happens? You suddenly see all that you do not love about them, that irritates the living daylights out of them, out of you and them, because it's reflected. Now you want to change them. That's not love either. And how many, after they divorce the others, that venom goes on and on and on. You did that, and you did this, and you did this, and the next thing. You know what? You're only hurting yourself by hanging on to old stuff. The energies now are churning up everything in humanity that needs to be healed in the highest levels. And I'm not in any way judging here. I'm just bringing this to the fore because it needs to be brought to the fore. Because so often, especially around this whole twin flame thing, is I need somebody to fulfill me. That is not true. Divine made you whole and complete in yourself. There are some souls that choose to be in relationships and in marriages because they still have things there to learn in mastery. There are other souls that do not need to go through that because they've already worked through all these lessons in previous lifetimes. They often choose to be alone and choose to walk this path on their own because this is their path of mastery. Some choose to be in marriages and in committed relationship because that is what they choose to learn from. At this moment in time, it needs to come to the fore and to the consciousness that you are meant to be true to your own soul in the highest degrees and to live your truth. It's not to please anybody. It's not to actually go lose yourself in anybody because you feel you belong to them. That's not healthy. It means that you can stand in the fullness of the truth of who you are and fully in your own sunlight, in the divine light, and live it, not needing to shrink yourself or to please anybody else. You are there to fulfill your soul mission and purpose on earth in the first place. All the rest is second place. True love sees with the eyes of the soul. And it allows that soul to be simply themselves, as you allow yourself to be simply yourself. You're not more than them, you're not less than them, you are the equal. Everybody is unique and special. And it's that specialness, that uniqueness, that slots in exactly where it is. If we would give every soul the opportunity to be simply themselves and love them as they are, without trying to fix them, without trying to change them, without trying to get back at them in whatever form or way, getting back in anything and hitting out is only like a boomerang. It boomerangs right back to you. The essence is that when you are sure in the core of your soul and you know your own divinity and you love yourself in the deepest shadow, and that means owning all those parts of you that you do not like about yourself, that you don't like and love about yourself, that you feel unworthy of, or so many feel they're not worthy of love. And you're going to attract a partner who's going to reiterate that exactly until you learn to find your own worth, to learn that you are lovable, and to love yourself in the deepest shadow and the highest light, because you're both. We all have shadow sides and we have light sides, but we tend to be blind to the shadow there, or we try to ignore it. Nobody is perfect, but it's our imperfection which makes our beauty. It's those things that are quirky about us that makes us lovable. It's a fact that we are not perfect that make us lovable. You know, true love is when you can bear yourself to the deepest levels of your soul and speak your truth. So many others have got throat chakra problems because of that. To speak your truth, to live your truth, and to know that the partner or the one that you love will not judge you, will not try to fix you, will not try to immediately tell you what to do or to be or whatever, but will be there present with you, holding you in the space of unconditional love, which is the hardest thing to do. But that's where our lessons in soul lie now. As much as you can sit with an open heart in their presence when they bare their souls to you, without trying to judge, without fixing them, without changing them, without telling you, I told you so, or rejecting them. There lies our greatest challenges as humanity. Not only in relationship, but you must remember in the greater relationship of humanity itself. We all have our challenges in that regard. If you chose to be in a relationship, there lies your challenges. If you choose to walk your path alone, there's no other way that you can go and blame anybody else for anything, because in the end it's your own decisions which create your own life, and that applies to people that are married. It applies to people that are single. The beauty of walking on your path on your own is that you start to love yourself in a deeper level. You start to discover things within yourself that you could not have discovered if you were in a partnership. The beauty of it also is that if you love yourself in the deepest shadows and the highest light, you understand that happiness is something that is inside yourself. It's not something that is outside yourself. To expect anybody to make you happy is to live an illusion. Happiness and contentment and peace and serenity is something that is deep within you. It is something no one can take away from you. It's who the truth of you are. It's that bubbling up of the joy of life, the very essence of life that is there within you. It's the way you create your own life in the way that you are in the oneness and unity with all that is. Then the outer world will reflect your inner world, because that is what you will attract. And whether you have a partner in your life or not, it doesn't bother you. Because you know that your happiness is not dependent on anybody else. It's not dependent on your partner. It's not dependent on your children. It's not dependent on anyone else but you yourself and your greater relationship with the divine and within you and the cosmic whole. There's a great blessing in this, and you can do it in partnerships as well. Is that you start not having projections. You understand that if you project your own thing on somebody else, it's your projection. It's not the truth of who the other one is. You don't like it if people project things onto you that are not your truth. And how often the people that we consider celebrities, we feel that they have to be perfect. They will crack under that pressure because nobody is perfect. I'm not perfect. I admit it. I've got my shadow as much as I've got my light. It's a daily thing. It's something you've got to look in the mirror of life every day and do the inner work and release that. And suddenly you will find, I had a lovely discussion about this with death and with rebirth, and a lot of my students saying this, since I have actually started to incorporate what you teach us, and I'm not blazing my own trumpet here, I'm just telling you the truth. I have started doing the inner work and a greater application of that, and now I find that where family members pressed my buttons, I'm not reacting anymore. It's because they finally have forgiven themselves and the others, and they finally learn to love themselves totally as much as then they can love somebody else like that. It's a daily thing. And this applies to everything in life. The thing is, nobody is perfect. And to expect anybody to be perfect is an illusion. You would have not attracted certain persons into your life if you're not meant to learn lessons and master soul lessons in life. Just like you attract those that support you, that love you, and hold you in that love. But the thing is, if we get too much support in life, we can't grow at soul level. That's why we also need the people who really challenge us and push our buttons in all types and forms, so that we can gain mastery. That's the only reason why we're on planet Earth. And at this time, it's so crucial, because if you want to ascend into the new earth and the new light body, you can't take any of that baggage with you. It's not going to work. A lot of people say, well, why does it take so long, this ascension process? It's because of all the lessons that we still have to learn. And remember, these are not just personal lessons. They are collective lessons. They're family lessons. They are group lessons. They are country lessons. If you live in a country, you also take on that karma of that country. And if you go and immigrate to any other country, then you've got to also understand you're taking on that country's karma in whatever way you do. It's all dissolving now. And the greatest beauty is if you can love yourself into that deeper shadow and the highest light, you can love other people into that shadow and the light. You know, I asked myself when I was going on my journey, and you can read about this in my Africa book, said, where does darkness come from? And I've got a whole chapter there. And when I was contemplating all of this, I asked, I always go and ask Lord Melchizedek and my ascended masters, and I say to them, hey, why is this so? I want to have answers here. And the answer that I got is every soul is pure at the core. The divine does not create imperfections. But if a soul chooses to experience the depth of darkness and the depth of that shadow, who are you to judge? That has stayed with me since then, that I start to understand this in the deepest core. It is not an understanding as such. It's also an understanding that everything in the whole omniverse reflects everything back to me. I have a choice to go and experience darkness in the deepest darkness, and I have a choice to experience light in the highest light. We all have. Whatever we choose does not change the divine love that is always omnipresent within us and is there eternally. The more I have delved into the mystery school teachings, the more I delve into the mystical part of life. Mystic means you want to go deeper into the knowing. And you come to a stage where you start to understand how little you know, how limited your knowing is. Because within the infinite creation, there's so much to explore. There's so much to live in, to be in, to expand into. It's unlimited. And once you start to understand that, you do not want to limit yourself to anything that binds you in whatever form or way. Because in truth, your soul is boundless. It's infinite. When you leave this planet, you always go back to your home galaxy, but you also go and choose other incarnations, and you have parallel incarnations and parallel existences. You're not bound to planet Earth. You never were. To me, that is what life is all about. To start having that infinite vision, that infinite calling, that does not restrict you in any form or way, where you can simply be yourself. And it's time now to start to let go of that baggage forever. And then to say, okay, what is it that I want to, with pure love and pure light and all that I am, in my beautiful balance and harmony of both negative and positive, because that's mastery, go and co-create in the new earth that is going to bring that 1,000 years of peace of unity, of oneness into form and being. How can I sow that seeds? I sow them. The seeds of love, the seeds of harmony, the seeds of balance, the songs of love. And then go and be it. So much love.